Hey, welcome back to Sociology. This is Chapter 3, Culture and Conformity and Adaptation. First off, we're going to talk about the American value system, social control, and social change. So, even though American society is quite diverse, there are certain core values that the vast majority of Americans share. So we're going to talk about what are the traditional American values and how have our values changed since the 1970s. Now, American society is made up of many diverse groups, but there is a core set of values that the majority of these groups share. The first of these is personal achievement. At school, at work is important. Gaining wealth and prestige is a sign of success in America. History, progress and material comfort. History is marked by ongoing progress, and progress improves people's lives. Work is discipline, dedication, and hard work are signs of virtue. Individualism, hard work, initiative, and an individual effort are the keys to personal achievement. Efficiency and practicality. Every problem can be solved through efficiency and practicality. Getting things done well in the shortest time is very important to the American people. Morality and humanitarianism. Judgment should be based on a sense of right and wrong. This sense of morality also involves helping the less fortunate. And everyone should have an equal chance of success and the right to participate freely in government in America. Personal freedoms such as religion, speech, and the press are central to the American way of life. Other core values in the American society is nationalism, patriotism, science and rationality, racial and group superiority, education, religion, and romantic love. While the United States has a set core values, new values or changed values are sometimes noted. Some of our new values that we have in our society is the importance of leisure, remaining physically fit, believing in a culture of the young people, youthfulness, self-fulfillment, environmentalism, and progress. Self-fulfillment and narcissism. Self-fulfillment is a commitment to the full development of one's personality, talents, and potential. Self-help industry, health clubs, diet centers, books on improving looks. Some scholars see self-fulfillment as a healthy new value, while others view it as extreme. Narcissism or extreme self-centeredness is detrimental to society as a whole, that we're too focused on the self and not enough on the community. Section 2, Social Control, an examination of the wars in which society attempts to ensure what its values and norms are upheld. So at the completion of this section, you should be able to identify what forms of social control exist to help ensure the norms of society are upheld, and secondly, identify how the norms of society are enforced, and then describe the differences between positive and negative sanctions and between formal and informal sanctions. So there are two basic means through which norms are enforced. The first and most important of these is internalization, the process by which a norm becomes part of an individual's personality, thus conditioning the individual to conform to society's expectations. This happens when people believe the norm is good and useful, and so they automatically follow it and expect others to do the same. For example, Drive on the right side of the road because that's what the norm is. Stop at signs and go when the traffic light is green. So, and you notice that when people violate these norms. Sanctions. Not everyone internalizes society's norms, and they must be motivated by sanctions, which are rewards or punishment used to enforce the conformity to the norms. This could be anything from people yelling at you for going the wrong way, or it could be being ticketed, paying a fine, and whatnot. Positive sanctions. These actions are rewards of particular kind of behavior, such as good grades or a pay raise. For example, praise, attention, pay raises, cheers, ceremonies, badges, awards, smiles, and nods. It's like when you get up and do a presentation and everybody's supposed to clap for you when you're done, no matter how well you did. You're being positively sanctioned for doing what you're supposed to do. Negative sanctions are punishment or a threat of punishment to enforce the conformity of such frowns, imprisonment, and even death. For example, grounding toward having your car towed for violating a parking restriction, frowns, ridicule, rejection, imprisonment, death, or public flogging. These are all known as negative sanctions. Formal sanctions are rewards or punishments by a formal organization or regulatory agency, such as the government, police, corporation, or school. So, example of a positive sanction from a formal positive sanction would be a promotion or an award, pay raise, medals. When you get recognized as, the good citizen of the year, that kind of thing. Negative formal sanction would be you get a low grade, or you get fined for a traffic violation, or you get suspended from school, or you lose your job. Informal sanctions are spontaneous expressions of approval or disapproval by an individual or group. A positive formal sanctions, standing ovation, gifts, compliments, and smiles. These would be all like informal, positively. And negatively sanctioning you would be a negative formal sanction would be gossip, ridicule, frowns, scolding, insults when being ignored. The enforcing of norms through either internalization of sanction is called social control. Agents of social control most typically are the police, the courts, your church or religion, family, public opinion, and self-control. Without conformity, social stability is lost and society cannot survive. So we need these sanctions and social control for us to maintain a civilized society. Then it comes to social change. The main idea of this chapter closes with the look of sources of social change and why people sometimes resist that change. So in your notes, what you should have at the conclusion of this section is what are the main sources of social change and what factors lead individuals to resist social change. The sources of social change are our values and beliefs, our technology, our population, our diffusion, and the physical environment, wars, and conquests. So number one, our values and beliefs is a change in one aspect of society's procedures changes throughout the system. The functionalist perspective is especially when the new ideas are introduced. An ideology is a system of beliefs or ideas that justifies some social, moral, religious, political, or economic interests by a social group or society. They are spread through social movements, which is a long-term conscious effort to promote or prevent social change. Examples of this would be the Prohibition movement that took place, Civil Rights movement, the Peace movement, and the Women's movement. All social movements that caused dramatic change within the United States. Technology is the knowledge and tools people use to manipulate their environment. Discovery occurs when people recognize how new uses for existing elements in the world or begins to understand them in different ways. For example, chewing gum and atomic fission. Okay. Invention occurs when people use existing knowledge to create something that did not previously exist, such as various gadgets, calculators, new hobbies, etc. Population, number 3, population changes in the culture within the change in the size of the population. Increase and decrease in demands in the economy that take place, moving from one place to another, and changes in age structure and fewer babies decreases need for schools. One of the problems we have in America today is the fact that our population is aging. There's more old people than there are young people, which makes it harder to pay for Social Security and things like that. And so it becomes a top-heavy system as a result, financially. Diffusion. Diffusion is the process of spreading cultural traits from one society to another. The more contact you have with another culture, the more ideas you'll borrow from it. That's why we eat pasta, sushi, Mongolian barbecue, baklava, and pastries. Diffusion is often caused by mass migrations. It can be from a natural disaster that cause people to leave one part of the country and go to another, or go from one country to another, or it could be like warfare. In fact, warfare is one of the greatest forms of diffusion there is. Most of when you go off and you fight in another country, you whether you try to or not, you typically bring back some of that culture with you, and the people that flee war zones also end up oftentimes migrating to other communities or countries and bringing their culture with them, and it diffuses into the main culture. Physical environment. The environment may provide conditions that encourage or discourage cultural change, what food you can grow, accommodating natural disasters, change in supply of natural resources. So we can have changes in our culture and behavior based on the abundance or lack thereof of natural resources as a result of environmental change or flooding. It's still environmental. Wars and conquests are not common, but they bring about the greatest amount of change in the least amount of time. Why? It causes the loss of life of many people. It produces broken families. Property is often destroyed. It leads to the rise of new cities and towns from the ruins. It changes in the workforce, shift from production of consumer goods to weapons. And then finally, government leaders often change as a result of warfare and the creation of new policies, either for better or for worse. Resistance to change. There are 3 factors why people resist change. The first of these is ethnocentrism, the belief that their race or group is superior, so they leads to segregation with no compromises. 2, cultural lag, a situation in which some aspects of culture change less rapidly or lag behind other aspects of the same culture. It's easier to convince people to buy foreign technology than it is to accept a new religion. For instance, they often say the schools lag about 25 years behind the society. Oftentimes churches are far behind what society is in itself, and takes many years to adapt. Vested interest. People might be benefiting or more comfortable with how things are, so they don't want to change. This is the whole thing about conservative versus liberal. Conservatives tend to want society to stay the way it is, where liberals want change. Workers may resist new machinery that can do the work of 10 people because it might cost them their jobs. In fact, you may have heard the expression the Luddites. This is one of the real reason these people exist. The Luddites were people who would go in and destroy machinery, because back in the day, the machines were taking the jobs of the people that the craftsmen, and so these people became known as Luddites. Voting against the policy might be because it might reduce the amount of profit you make. Okay, so there's the idea too, is that people oftentimes vote against a law that might interfere with their business. So, adaptive American culture. The American culture has long been thought to be very adaptive. Its long history of immigration to the United States has resulted in an American culture that embraces the values and behaviors of material culture from other cultures around the world. For instance, Latino influence is especially strong, as Hispanics are the largest minority group. Influences of food, clothes, and cars are also can be seen. Latino holidays are celebrated, and Spanish language advertisements are common. In fact, we see that frequently in our society. South Asians are becoming a larger and larger portion of the United States population. Pakistani and Indian food is becoming more and more popular, and Bollywood movies are also becoming more popular in the United States. So this brings a close to our quick discussion here on cultural diversity and conformity.